They weren't supposed to exist, but they fought in battles, led armies, and some were more feared than the men. You've heard of the samurai. Now meet the warriors history tried to erase, the samurai women of Japan. Everyone knows the samurai, the armored warriors, the strict codes, the epic battles. But what if I told you that behind that famous image, there's a hidden side? A side where women weren't just supporting from the sidelines? They were leading the charge. This is the story that rarely makes it into the textbooks. The story of women who shattered expectations, took up swords, and carved their names into history. Let's dive into the secret world of Japan's forgotten female, warriors. When people think of samurai, they picture a man, always a man, standing proud in heavy armor holding a katana. It's a powerful image, but only part of the truth. The samurai class wasn't just made up of men. Women born into samurai families were trained to protect their homes, their families, and their honor. They weren't just sitting in the shadows. They were preparing for war. There's this myth that samurai women were passive, gentle, obedient. But dig deeper, and history tells a different story. Archaeologists have uncovered burial sites filled with female skeletons, armor, and weapons. In one mass grave from the 16th century, over 35% of the remains belonged to women who had died in battle. So why haven't we heard their stories? Simple, because history was written by men. And men didn't want to admit that women could fight just as fiercely, or lead just as powerfully as they could. But they did, and some even did it better. Let's clear something up. Samurai women were not ordinary housewives. Sure, they managed homes. But that home? It wasn't just a place to cook rice, it was a fortress, a strategic base. And if enemies showed up, these women didn't hide. They fought. Samurai women were trained in the naginata, a long-bladed pole weapon. Why? Because it gave them reach. They could defend their homes from horseback warriors. Some even trained in archery and swordsmanship, just like the men. They were also trained to commit seppuku, ritual suicide, if captured, not out of fear, but out of pride. That's how seriously they took honor. When samurai men went to war, the women didn't. Just wait around. They protected the family's estate. They made decisions. They ran businesses, negotiated deals, and managed finances. They weren't background characters. They were leaders. Some even advised warlords on military strategies. This wasn't about gender. It was about loyalty, skill, and strength. Now let's talk about some of the real legends. Women who shattered every limit placed on them. Tomoe Gozen. She's one of the most iconic female samurai in Japanese history. A warrior. During the late Heian period, she fought in the Genpei War, one of Japan's bloodiest civil wars. She was described in ancient texts as a fearless rider, a skilled archer, and a master with the sword. She led troops into battle and was said to have killed several men on the battlefield herself. One of the most chilling stories? When she was surrounded by enemies, she didn't run. She turned, charged straight at the most fearsome warrior in the group, and cut off his head. She was that ruthless, that respected, and yet, her name is still missing from most history books. Then there's Hachisuka Tsukiyo, a powerful woman from the Edo period. She wasn't just a fighter, she was a leader, a strategist. She held political influence and was known to command loyalty from samurai under her leadership. During the Tokugawa shogunate, a time known for strict rules and control, some women still managed to hold power behind the scenes. They weren't always on the battlefield, but they moved the pieces. They played the long game. Samurai women were the queens of quiet influence. They advised their husbands, sons, and generals, guiding the course of entire clans. And they did it without ever being officially recognized. So what happened to these women? As Japan modernized in the 19th century, the samurai class faded. And with it, the stories of these warrior women were buried, or worse, erased. But their legacy didn't disappear completely. Today, the values they lived by, loyalty, courage, and discipline, are still deeply rooted in Japanese culture. They've influenced martial arts. Some martial schools still honor the naginata as a weapon, traditionally used by women. There are even tournaments today where modern Japanese women train and compete using ancient samurai techniques. You'll find books, manga, and anime inspired by the spirit of these warriors, but they're still underrepresented, still misunderstood. Why? Because their stories challenge the narrative. They prove that women weren't just survivors in history. They were fighters, leaders, and icons. This isn't just a history lesson. It's a wake-up call. We've been told the story of the samurai so many times that we think we already know it, but the full story? It's only just starting to come out. These women weren't background characters. They were warriors with names, families, honor, and legacy. They didn't wait to be saved. They picked up the sword. They made history. Now it's time we start telling it. So the next time someone mentions the samurai, remember, they weren't all men. And the strongest warriors? Some of them wore armor and painted their lips red before going to battle. Watch the next video if you're ready to uncover more hidden history.